Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, welcome to the show. Here we go. Don't you know? So I've been having a lot of guests on lately, which is new for me, and I've been really enjoying it. I think it's going to bring a new dimension to the podcast. So I think I will be continuing that. However, I did want to mix it up a little bit with my stuff, my stuff. Of course, when I have guests on, it's more of a conversation and an interview, depending on how it goes, of course. But so, I'm trying to put my perspective in there and having it kind of a two-way conversation with the guests, but the solo ones are fun too. So this one, I almost titled it like Midnight Musings or something. I found myself contemplating again. And this time it was last night in bed. And this concept, I was getting ready for bed, so, to go to sleep. And this popped into my head. So, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of out of it. I think this is an interesting perspective. But I'll decide tomorrow. So, which is often what I do when I'm going to bed and as, things are popping into my head. But this time, and sometimes I do this, I'll hop up out of bed and grab my phone and just leave myself a voice message. To remind me of it, so I don't just space it the next day. So I was thinking about this morning. I was looking at the message I left for myself, and I was like, yeah, it's an interesting concept. And before I get into the concept, I guess I wanted to explain a little bit about how I look at this type of thinking. So I'm not looking for, when I'm contemplating stuff, I'm not looking for the answer. I'm not looking for the ultimate, I know 100% that this is the truth, because I don't know. And I don't think that any of us possibly could. There are things that I believe to be true now, with the understanding that who knows, in the future I could get a deeper insight or a different insight that makes sense even more. So I hold on to them loosely. I don't attach to them, because then I don't feel like I'm right. I'm not feeding my ego. Nothing feeds our ego more than being right. And how would I or possibly anybody else possibly know for sure? We can feel inside that it's truth, but like even the things that I kind of know to be true within me, I hold the specifics loosely, because there's many ways of coming at the same thing. So, I can believe that love is all there is. And then, well, that's kind of deep. That might be, it's just not the best example. I could probably still do it with that example. But like karma, for example, right? Lots of people believe karma is you put out, you get back what you put out. Some believe that karma follows us through lifetimes. Some believe that karma is a way of saying that we pay for our sins in some way, shape, or form. There's lots of different ways of expressing or explaining what karma is. And every time you explain it in a different way, the meaning changes slightly, right? Just a little bit. And so that's what I hold loosely. My understanding of the concept. Like, I'm pretty sure some of the concepts that I know are truth, but I still hold them loosely because they could shift and I could understand them a little bit deeper or a little bit more. And then, is it because the previous concept wasn't true? No, I just got a deeper insight on it. And who knows, maybe my brain isn't capable of grasping the mysteries of the universe in their totality. So I'm just grasping aspects of it, right? So I truly feel this is extremely helpful way of interacting with spirituality and walking our path for many reasons. And one of them is because it doesn't feed our ego, because we're not like, yes, this is true, and anybody that thinks differently is wrong. Like, so it doesn't increase separation. You're open to hearing other perspectives, and you're open to evolving your own. And you're also understanding that, like, there's no way for you to know for sure. Right. So I think it keeps us more open. It keeps us unattached to a particular concept, therefore leaving room for it to expand, all that stuff. So I wanted to explain that a little bit because, I talk about a lot of different things, and what you do with those things makes a difference. If you start latching on to things like their truth, then you're going to start your mind is going to start snapping shut towards anything that goes against that, because you're going to feel like you already know the truth. So this is one of the ways that I stay open and contemplate things. So the concept that I'm talking about today, that Earth is the exam, is a concept. I don't know 100% if it's true, but there's aspects of it that resonate. So I contemplate it, and it just gives me another way of looking at things. So what I mean by that, what I mean is Earth is the exam, is that like what I teach is here on Earth as we learn. I've done podcasts on this specifically, but it's going to set up the framework for what I mean. So I believe here on Earth, there are 3 ways of learning things, like 3 steps, 3 dynamics of learning things. Got to mute my phone here. There we go. So, I believe that there is the intellectual, the conceptual, and the physical. And you could say mental, emotional, spiritual. So intellectually, we understand things. This is how we're used to learning in school. We put information in our brain, and if we can retain that information, then we got it. And if we can regurgitate it back in our own words, that means we really understand it, and we got it, right? So that's how we're used to learning on Earth, but it doesn't work, as most people on the spiritual path know. It doesn't work that way. You can know the right things to do, and you're going to keep waking up 3 months, 6 months, a year later, very often, not having implemented that and changed your life. And it's frustrating, and you don't know why. It's because you haven't, you're treating it like just an intellectual knowledge. So you get it intellectually, But that's not how we change who we are. We have to actually change the conceptual and the physical. And these can happen in any order. Usually they happen, we learn something intellectually, and then we might hear it a few times or hear it explained a different way. And then all of a sudden we go, oh, now I really get it. And if you pay attention, you feel that in your body more. It's not intellectual is in your head, conceptual is in your body. You get it. You don't, like, oh, now I really get it. Like, that's when you're getting it conceptually. And then we have to stand in a physical situation to embody what we just understood intellectually and conceptually. So this usually happens within 2 weeks, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 2 days. But usually what I've seen with myself and other people is usually within 2 weeks, the universe or God gives us an opportunity to stand in what we just learned. And the reason is because everything is energy. We are vibrational beings. We vibrate at a particular rate, and everything has a vibration. So your old belief system had a vibration. Your new belief system has a different vibration. So we need to stand in that behavior to make it part of us. So let's say you work through a childhood trigger. Back when you were a kid, maybe something with your parents, and you work through this. You work through it energetically. You work through it intellectually. You get a different understanding. You feel comfortable with that. Like you really do the work. Now you got to go stand in it, in that situation. And if your parents are no longer alive, the universe can create different ways. Don't worry. But just for this example, let's say within a couple weeks, you end up on a phone call with your parents and they're saying the exact thing that triggered you before that you would just work through. Now, people will look at that and be like, oh, I thought I transcended this. I can't believe that it's still happening. I thought if I transcended it, I wouldn't be exposed to it anymore. That's not how it works. Like, we actually have to choose a different behavior. So when they start sending the messages or the words that used to trigger us, there's that moment where, and do it halfway through. Not just, you don't have to catch it in that first moment. It's best if you do, but you can also do it. Like if you get triggered and then go, oh no, I got triggered, recognize what's going on, perspective into the new non-triggered perspective. So therefore you choose to handle it a different way. You don't take it personally. You understand that, it depends on the situation. Let's just say whatever they're saying is from their perspective and it's not your perspective, or they don't know better, or whatever. It's some sort of situation where you don't take it personally and it's not about you. So, and you stand in that energy. Then now all of a sudden you start vibrating at a different energy. You start vibrating as one who doesn't get triggered when this trigger comes up. It's no longer a trigger for you. You transcended it. So when this stimuli comes in, it no longer triggers you. Well, how do you know that? Because it came in and you didn't allow it to trigger you. So you actually have to implement it in a real life situation to change our vibration, right? So like I said, that I've done podcasts on and explained it, but I want to use that as a preference because the concept that I was getting last night is similar in dynamic, right? It just, what it did is I kind of zoomed out and it started where I was on the other side, right? So I'm on the other side, and when I'm on the other side, I remember everything. I understand the basic workings of the universe. Because when we come over into Earth, we forget. That's one of the biggest things of Earth or Earth school or Earth exam or whatever you want to call it. One of the biggest difficulties over here that we perceive it as a difficulty. Um, it's a catalyst, but we perceive it as a difficulty is because that's what makes the difference. Like that's the big deal. If we didn't forget everything, then this place would not be a catalyst for real growth, right? So I'm picturing us on the other side, and we're looking at the universe for what it is. Like, we are part of the one. We understand that there is a all pervasive energy, creative energy called God. We understand we're safe. We know that there's all kinds of beings at all different levels all around the universe. And we're trying to expand as a being. We are trying to evolve into higher levels of consciousness and all this stuff. So we're over there, and I kind of saw us over there working on ourselves. For one example, it could be we came over to Earth for a while. We learned some stuff, we advanced in certain ways, but we didn't in other ways. So we go back to the other side and we go, oh, okay, like I didn't, I got these parts, so that's cool. I evolved in those ways, but I didn't get these parts. So how I must need to learn these deeper and make them more of a part of me, so I can stand in them next time, right? So we're on the other side, and we're learning and we're growing and we're understanding these concepts, and I think, you know, I think we have experiences, but they're probably different, right? Because we know what's going on. We're not lost in this illusion of separateness, that God's not part of us and we're not all one and all that stuff. I think when we know that stuff, it doesn't mean that we're instantly God. Like, we still are at the level of consciousness that we are at, whether we're here on Earth or whether we're over there. The only difference is when we're over there, we know where we are. We know what the truth is. We know where we are, level of consciousness wise. We know what we're working on, where we know why we're working on it. Like, we kind of get the big picture when we're over there. So we can still have experiences, and we can still grow, and we can still heal and work through things and stretch and reach for our own expansion towards a higher consciousness, higher evolved consciousness. It just looks different than here on Earth, right? Here on Earth, it kind of seems like we're doing the same thing. It's just we forgot. So here's the real cusp of the concept of Earth being the exam. I was kind of viewing it as the same way I was viewing Earth, where I get something intellectually, I get it conceptually, and then I have to stand in a situation physically that really hammers it home. What if that's a microcosm of the macrocosm? What if that's actually what's happening kind of on the other side, right? So we're on the other side, and yes, we know everything, but we're still learning and growing and healing and becoming higher evolved consciousness, right? And then we get all this, we do all this work on ourselves, heal some wounds from our previous incarnation, learn a little bit more, all that stuff. And then we go, okay, now I really got it. Like, I've reached this level of knowledge, conceptual understanding, where I know this to be my truth. Now, how are we going to, this is where the exam comes in. Like, how are we going to ever know if we really got it or if we didn't really get it? Right? So in school, and of course in school I'm just talking about the intellectual understanding, but the dynamics are the same. So in school you sit there listening to a teacher explain things to you, and you read in a book, and you have discussions, you do papers, all that stuff, and that's all to get you to have a certain level of understanding. But then they go, okay, how are we going to know if this person actually truly understands this and totally has it and it's part of them now, on an intellectual level, not conceptual or physical, just intellectual. We're talking about school here, human school. So we go, oh, we're going to give them an exam. We're going to remove them from the prompts that could help them remember, like the book, like the information on the board, like the teacher explaining something, like, or the inability to ask questions of the teacher in the middle of an exam, right? They remove all that, and then they have you taking an exam. And if you can put down all this information in a comprehensive way on the exam without any of the learning tools, then they go, okay, you just proved that you got it. So congratulations, you go on to the next grade or whatever, right? So what if it's the same here on Earth, where we learn all this stuff on the other side, and then they go, okay, well, how are we going to test you? How are we going to actually find out if you get this, if you can actually implement and live this? Well, first we have to take away the catalyst for learning. We have to take away your exposure to all the information. And that's why we forget when we come over here in Earth. It's like putting the book away. It's like it's like erasing the chalkboard. Yes, there used to be chalkboards when I was in school, not whiteboards. We have the inability to ask or questions, seemingly, right? Seemingly. But part of what we're trying to learn is we're trying to bring, I think what we're trying to do is be able to embody the truth here on Earth, when at the beginning we forget the truth. It's like, well, if it's really a part of you, if it's a part of your consciousness, then you'll remember it. It'll come back. If you stand in it, if you have it enough, if you can stand in it firmly enough, if you believe it strongly enough, if it's embedded in your consciousness deeply enough, then even when you come over here to Earth and they wipe the slate clean and you don't remember anything and you're starting from scratch, if it's really part of you, it's going to start coming up and out and birthing into this world. You're going to start choosing that behavior regardless of the circumstances, if it's really part of you. So, perhaps that's what we're doing here. And exam is kind of one way to look at it. I'm not a school person, so I don't particularly, I think we could probably find a better word than exam. And that just might be because I don't like the concept of it. Especially using that word. Like, I view it as an opportunity, right? So maybe that's a better term. I'm going to go over to Earth and I'm going to go stand in this. This is my opportunity to stand in it. I've been over here and learning and growing and all this stuff, and it's all wonderful. And everything, but I need to really embody it so I can evolve to that next level. And the only way that I can truly embody it and know that it's part of me and it's non-negotiable and it's truly how my consciousness interacts with any type of reality is if I go over to a place where we forget everything and there's all kinds of duality. There's I have freedom of choice. I can choose to do this or I can choose not to. I'm free to choose to go whatever direction that I want. I need to have that freedom. Otherwise, how are we going to know if I'm truly choosing? If it's really part of me and I really want this, and this is how my consciousness interacts with reality, regardless of the circumstances. How would I ever possibly know that if I'm always sitting in a situation where, like, I think it was the Law of One I was listening to, and they likened coming over here, like there was a question basically, like, why do we forget? Why do we forget our truth when we come over here? And the answer was basically like playing cards. They're like, well, if you're playing cards and you can see you know all your cards and all of everybody else's cards, then it doesn't take any skill. It doesn't take any, there's nothing you have to do. Like if you can see your cards and everybody else's cards and you know the game, then you just go, oh, okay, well, for me to win, like if I lay this card down, then that's going to help them. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to lay this card down. And you would win every time. Like there's no challenge. There's no evolution there. There's no stretch. There's no push. There's no growth. You're not learning anything. You're not changing anything because you know the right thing to do in every situation. So coming over here with this blank slate, not remembering anything and going like, well, first I got to figure out what my cards are. And I'm never going to know what everybody else's cards are. But I need to figure out the right way to play these cards anyway. Even without knowing all this stuff, I have to figure out the right way to play my cards. So it's like, oh, okay. So, that's where we actually have to think. Our attention has to go somewhere. We have to be creative. We have to be open. We have to evolve in certain ways. Like I used to play a lot of this card game Pitch growing up, and tons of it. And after after time, I got good. I wasn't good in the beginning, right? But over time, you start paying attention to patterns and you start understanding why somebody might do something this way. So you get better at the game over time, right? So it's, through evolution, not because I saw everybody else's cards, but I developed my way of playing. So this is what, it seems like this is what we're doing here on Earth. It's an opportunity to go, okay, you grew in all these ways. Now you have to go, here's an opportunity for you to go stand in it. Without access to the information, most of it. But I think that, so this is how, let's see if I can explain this. So I keep saying, where this is why maybe exam isn't the perfect word, because I just don't feel like we're being tested. I feel that we're being given an opportunity to evolve. That's, so but there's this big aspect of forgetting, right? And that's why it works, and free will, because we have to be able to choose and we have to, so that's all part of it. But the ironic part is that in a way, what we're trying to do over here on Earth, like the exam or what we're trying to do with the opportunity is just bring in what we already know into this realm. So as much as forgetting our truth when we come over here is a part of the necessary scenario we need to be in to truly evolve, to truly be able to stand in it in a dualistic world with many choices and availabilities. And if we're able to stand in it, then our, that's how our consciousness evolves. But not only that, but it's actually, I think part of what we're trying to embody is the reality that we're never alone. So it's kind of taking like what we knew on the other side and birthing it back into our consciousness here while we are on Earth. So it's like when we come over, we have to forget everything. But then the exam is all about remembering the truth, remembering that we are all one, remembering that everything is love, remembering that we're never alone, remembering that we're eternal, and there's no reason for fear. That's the kind of ironic part is we have to come over here to embody this stuff, but what are we embodying? We're embodying the things that we just forgot when we came over here. We're trying to be in this dualistic world and birth the eternal reality into it. And I think as more of us do that over time, because we are in a dualistic world, and the free will and what people perceive as negativity, I believe, are catalysts for our growth. Like, it's kind of like not being able to see other people's cards. We have to be under the illusion that there's things other than love so that we can choose love. If we know that everything is love, then why would we have to choose it? Like it already is everything. So there's nothing to choose. Right? There's no real free will. I mean, I guess it might be free will, but nobody in their own free will would logically do something that would hurt themselves on purpose. So we're just, we're trying to remember, we have to be in a situation where there is no where there's the possibility of danger or a perceived possibility of danger, and then learn to open up to the safety to realize that there actually isn't any danger. And if we can do that, if we can bring these concepts of oneness and everything is love, and we can stand in them in this dualistic world with all its illusions and things seemingly difficult and all that stuff, then we evolve. And as more and more people do that, I don't know, does Earth stay as the exam place with all this dualistic triggers and catalysts for growth that people perceive as negativity? Does it stay like that? So we just, whoever needs this level of teaching, or the specific growth that is created here on Earth, whatever souls are in that particular aspect of evolution, do they come over here? I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think that Earth evolves as well because nothing stays the same. So I don't think that, you know, and creation is unlimited. So I think that if Earth gets to the point where we've birthed enough people have birthed the truth, the universal eternal truth, enough people embody it here, it raises the collective vibration, and then, you know, like has been prophesized, there's a new heaven and a new earth. So I think that the earth can evolve into a better state over time because everything's in the evolutionary process, including the earth. So I think as we embody it, it's kind of like, you know, perhaps we create kind of a Garden of Eden here on earth, as you know, as we all evolve and we're embodying a higher level of consciousness here on earth. And then, you know, if they need another school like earth to for souls to go to for this exact level of evolution, well, another one's just created. There's probably multiple anyway, at all different stages. You know, there's probably, you know, and who knows? Maybe it's the same Earth. Maybe it's just different timelines where, you know, there's a version of Earth that was 200 years ago, because there is no such thing as time. So everything's all happening at once, which I do not want to go down that rabbit hole. I take this podcast in a whole different direction. But that's the concept. Let's see if there's anything else I want to touch on. Maybe just a recap. But yeah, so, you know, I think that no matter where we are, I think we're constantly evolving. It's just, that's the nature of everything. Everything is always evolving, you know. A seed is becoming a tree, and, you know, and us, everything is evolving. Whether it seems like it's not or it's not, it is, you know, because, you know, like I was an alcoholic for 20 years. So during that 20-year period, like some people might look at it and go, well, Glenn, you weren't evolving during that 20 years. And in a way they were right, you know, like there are actually tangible ways that I can express. Like they say, when you start using drugs or alcohol, you basically stop maturing emotionally, because at that age, because you start using drugs and alcohol to navigate your emotions. You know, if you're happy, you use them to celebrate. If you're sad, you use them to repress and anesthetize yourself. You know, all stuff like that. And you know, in my experience, I could see that, especially after I woke up when I was 35, that at 34, even though I wasn't acting out and behaving physically the same as I was when I was 15, 17, 18 years old, the way I processed things was very similar. Like, you know, when I was a teenager and somebody perceivingly wronged me, then I'd get in a fight with them. Well, at 34, I wasn't getting in a fight with people very often. But I wanted to. Like, I just talked myself out of it because I had experienced enough negative consequences as I got older to know that I shouldn't be running around fighting. Like you get into a lot of trouble as an adult living like that. So I would hold myself back from doing what I wanted, but my brain and my emotions processed it the same way. Oh, well, Oh, so yeah, so that was a perceived moment of me not growing, right? For those 20 years. But and after I woke up, I didn't really understand that until after I woke up, and then I could go back and see it and be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't really grow." But I was growing because, believe it or not, this is how suffering is a catalyst to growth. Is that 20, like I had to suffer for 20 years to be able to get to the point where I was so broken, that I was so miserable and sick and tired of being sick and tired, that I just couldn't live anymore. So it took me 20 years to get myself to the point to where I could fully surrender and open up to a different truth. So in a way, I was growing. I was building up. I was experiencing suffering, which got me to the point where I would choose something different. So it is an aspect of growth. So we're constantly evolving. We're constantly growing. It's just the nature of everything. I think this is why we're here in the first place. I think that we are an extension of God expanding. God is just constantly expanding and creating, and it's like, so he's creating us and planets and stars and galaxies, and and experiencing things through his creations. And it's cool. And his creations are constantly evolving. So, maybe we maybe God doesn't create planets and galaxies. Maybe God just creates souls. There's a soul. There's a soul. There's a soul. Let's say they're all different. Let's see what they do. And then as they evolve into, excuse me, higher levels of consciousness, then all of a sudden they go through whatever they go through and evolve. And then they're like, wow, like I'm kind of at this point level of consciousness, I can create whatever I want. Because I'm in the image and likeness of God who created me. So now I want to create stuff. So, like there's all these souls. I'm going to create a galaxy with planets where they have exam planets, and they have other planets where they know everything, but they're still evolving, but they can have experiences there. And I'm going to have and then, so as we evolve, maybe we become one of those, right? Then all of a sudden we become kind of what people would perceive as a God. Not the God, there's only one, but a God, because we're capable of birthing a solar system or something and creating a whole new school. I don't know, but this is the type of stuff that I like to contemplate and toss around and see what resonates and see what doesn't, without ever knowing for sure. And I think that insights come off of this. That's one of the reasons I don't think this is useless waste of time. I think tossing these ideas around, contemplating them, discussing them, it's feeding energy towards this subject, which is evolution. How does it work? What are we doing here? What's my purpose? Like all that, this all feeds into it. So the more we're putting our attention on it, the more we're contemplating it, the more we open up, because the more energy we're putting towards it. It's like anything. I mean, if I want to learn permaculture, then I should put a bunch of energy towards permaculture information. And then I learn more and more, and it becomes a bigger and bigger part of me. Right. Well, it's the same thing with our eternal evolution. If we contemplate it and expose ourselves to discussions of it, expose ourselves to contemplations in our own mind, expose ourselves to information from outside sources, have conversations about it. That's all putting energy through our attention onto that topic, so it expands. And gradually we learn more and we understand more of it. So there we go. I think I'm going to leave it right there. And hopefully you guys are contemplating this stuff on your own. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. All right. Hope you enjoyed listening, and reach out if I can be of service. Peace.